Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be making another character guide for Cyborg of Justice Genos. That's what he's called. Okay, so this character is a composure break character that is in the overpower category, and alongside with his other characters, he is the only SSR crit rate character in the game. Of course, other overpowered crit rate characters include Spring Mustachio and Snakebite Snake, but the best... oh, it's not Snakebite Snake, Spiting Fist Snake, whatever it's called. Anyways, so this guy's going to take priority over these guys, and it's going to be an easy time building him because he's the only guy that really needs these pieces. For example, how if you're in overpower, My Mask and Metal Knight will clash heads a little bit because they use the exact same fucking stats, except for of course the character card, but they use the same things. So it's really hard to build these two because they're not very unique in a way. Anyways, let's get right on to his build, which is right, where is it? Gameplay, skill list right here. So let's talk about skills going right to left here because that's actually the best order. So ultimate skill, we have a pursuit, we have a weird wind blade kick looking thing. This is also, I think, dependent on if he's on his melee state or his ranged state, especially with his ultimate here. I think that's what it is, but just to be sure, just get up right close and point blank to the boss and then pop your ult so you don't miss, right? So now for this, we have the normal attack. It is basically just an M1 with a combo of 5 strikes. It has 490% of attack and charges the burst impact 3% each hit. So if you're doing a full combo here, that is going to be 15% to your burst impact, which your burst impact is your conversion, which can only be charged with damaging moves. Okay, now moving on to Leap Stomp. Leap Stomp is a back heel kick where he basically down stomps the enemy. He can teleport behind them if he has melee amplification, and it does 260% of your base stat attack and decreases the cooldown of burst impact by 8%, which is really good because 2 copies of these is going to be 16%. So there's that to note. Now going back to the melee attack, once you do this combo, you will kind of fly up in the air, which is actually bad if you're doing high damaging bosses or stagger bosses, for example the Hot Battle Pluton, because of the fact that you are completely vulnerable to his overhead swing or any of his attacks, and you have to dodge, which makes it very difficult to dodge since you are airborne, right? So there is that window of vulnerability. Now, we got Leap Stomp. Good move. It's also good for closing this distance between your enemy because you can kind of teleport to them, which is very, very useful. Comet Punch. Comet Punch is basically machine gun blows, and its power is enhanced when you're in melee amplification. So melee amplification is, I think it is used when you do a switch and you get a buff, and what this buff is going to give you is it's going to basically buff all these things here. It'll do more damage, this will do more damage, this will do more damage, this will do more damage, and there's also a bunch of other stuff, right? So you do continuous attacks, and it's actually a very, very powerful move. 612% of your attack, and it reduces your burst impact cooldown by 34%. So if you're at 2 copies of these, this is gonna, if you hit all your shots against the boss, that is going to be 68% cooldown already, right? And this is going to be very good because then you just have to use your heal kicks, which are very quick, and then boom, you can switch again and get those buffs. So there is that. And if he's in his amplification, guess what? Cooldown by an extra 14%, dealing a total damage stat that is equal to 782% of attack. What this means is that instead of that 34%, you're going to be getting 2 copies of that. That's going to be around 48%. So if you just M1 twice, or M1 twice, and then use 2 of these machine gun blows and hit all your punches, you can just switch burst impact without using leap stomps, which saves you a lot of time because these are your most damaging options. Burst impact, I'm not going to talk about it too much. It is a switch move. You kind of blast at the enemy point blank and then do a backflip into your ranged, which is very good when creating distance between the bosses and you, especially when you change into your range form, which is very, very solid. Not to mention his dodge. His dodge is very basic, very average, just kind of like the average dodge. There isn't too much special about it. So there is that. Now going on to his ranged form. Now you can finally see his core mechanism. Oh, you could already see it from the melee one. Anyways, if you didn't know, it's literally just dash punches or burst impact, and it gives you a 40-second buff for every single ability, and you can switch from melee and range, which makes this character very, very versatile when you want to have a melee character and a ranged character. So, combo burning. Q basically makes it so you can shoot fireballs at the opponent, and you get 400% of your attack, whatever, and you can basically hold down your directional keys to move around while you're using this attack. So it's good against dodging enemies or moving around the map. It is not quicker than moving around the map when you're just running around or dashing, but it is good if you're trying to get some damage off and you want to run around the map still. It's very good. This does take down your DPS though as you dash in between hits, so it'll actually slow down your fireballs, right? It'll slow down your DPS from your fireballs. And note that this does not take any dash cooldown to make these kind of dodges. Burning Cannon. This would basically shoot a huge flamethrower laser beam for 3 seconds, and it reduces your dash punch cooldown by 36%. So range amplification, what this does is it makes it so you can basically laser left and right if you want to move it around. So this is an alright ability, as basically what's going to happen is the boss is actually going to move away from your laser, and that's going to make you stuck lasering in the middle of nowhere. So you can actually direct it so it hits the boss again. And of course, if you've watched my tips video, then you can just dash and cancel the ability if the boss is way too far. Dash punch, again, you just charge at the boss, you punch him, and then you basically deal whatever damage it is, which is like 300% of attack and your burst impact by 7%, and you gain 40 seconds of melee amplification. So it's basically the same thing, the melee counterpart for the ranged switch, which is a weird way of saying it, because this is a melee attack even though it's in the ranged form right here, as you can see, melee, and this is also a melee attack in the melee form, right? One more note for M1, this ranged M1 does not have a 5-6 hit combo. It just purely just shoots, fireballs at the enemy. And the thing is that this is a low DPS option because of the fact that it has no combo, so it won't really grant you any extra damage on the final hit. So it's kind of going to be like the first M1 or the first hit of every single other M1. So basically what I'm trying to say is this is not a very good M1. It's alright, it's pretty solid, the range is good, and you can attack constantly, very consistent, but it's not good consistent. It's consistently inconsistent, is what I'm trying to say. So there is that to know. And a few extra notes, I'll talk about them later in the tips before starting the battle. So, we have SSR exclusive quality, you get 40% more attack, 45% more of attack with your stat of composure reduction. So let's just say you have 1,000 composure reduction, you're going to be getting 450 damage points onto that, which is a very, very solid exclusive quality. This makes this character very, very good, because breakers are just very good characters because they can get damage from 2 substats, right? Their attack substat and their composure reduction substat, which actually gives them just as much attack in their composure reduction substat as the attack substat, not the type attack, but the attack substat. Because let's just say you have 250 composure reduction. That's going to give you the composure reduction stats plus like around more than 100 attack, right? And for example, your composure and your basic attack is going to give you like 126 damage or whatever it is, which you get a little less damage, but you get the composure reduction stat, which is very, very beneficial for you, which is very nice. Now going over the potentials. Burst impact is available at the start of the battle. This will make it so that the burst impact you know, available at the start of the battle, so you can actually switch quickly. And this would work well if you just want to use your abilities to get the damage in. You can switch right off the bat actually, and this is going to get you closer to getting the 2 stacks of abilities you want when you're switching. Now, pot 2, raid break +3, very, very, very solid. You definitely need this as your pot. It makes it so much better. Pot 3, every single time you use a skill, our burst impact dash damage increases by 20%. This can be stacked up to 4 times and resets after you switch forms. So just keep switching. This is basically what they're trying to encourage, is you just want to switch as many times as you can, which makes you do more and more and more damage. This can mean 80% more damage if you have pot 3. If you use it right, this guy's a beast. Now, so if I get another copy of Genos, everybody is dying. This guy is going to be insane. So pot 4, implemented righteousness. This would make it so a crit is triggered by an attack, generates 40% composure damage bonus. Every time a monster enters break state, you gain 10% damage bonus, stacked up to 3 times. So this is just going to ramp up really quickly. Basically, it's going to get you a ton of composure. It's going to give you an insane amount of composure damage, and it's going to fucking wreck bosses, right? Like, imagine a team full of breakers, right? You know how much damage that would be? Absurd. It would just make sure the boss cannot move, which is going to be really funny, but also very overpowered, right? Composure, now potential 5, we have extends the duration of amplification by 10 seconds. This is dog shit because you're going to switch and reset it, so it's not that good. So pot 5 is a waste. Pot 6, when amplification is in effect, damage of all skills belonging to the corresponding form increases by 20%. So it's good. But basically, to get pot 6, you need 2 pots, because pot 5 is useless. So there is that to note for the pots. So his pots are very good up to pot 4, and then pot 6 is pretty decent, but pot 5 is a waste. Okay, now going on to his build. Well, I'm going to talk about his SSR arms first, because this thing is really good. Now, this can work really well with actually a lot of composure reduction characters if you have an SSR, because you can just keep breaking the boss. Basically, what this does is it at a certain point in the composure reduction's health, your attack will basically put them into composure break state instantly, which is very, very strong, and it gives you a composure buff 6 passive buff as well, which is really good. Now it has another passive. Basically, you get amplification in effect, and you get 12% crit damage boost, which is very, very solid if you're making a crit build, which you should, and this highly benefits off of it. Not to mention, I have like 3 copies of this arms, which is insane. So that means I pulled this arm so many times, and yeah, it's very, very strong. And this makes him my strongest character in my entire roster. So all those other guides I've been making, they're cool and all those characters are very solid, but this guy is the cream of the crop. He is the best character I have, right? So there is that to note. Now, my build, it does need a little bit of work, but anything with a lock on it means it can be perfected. This thing is insane. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane, right? The best part about these is substack composure break. This is very, very, very solid, right? Of course, some of these are outdated, merit 15, but some of them are merit 16. This is composure break. This has composure break. This has composure break. This doesn't have composure break, and it has HP, which makes it slightly flawed, but it works because it has raid break, right? This one has ride the wave, but I'm gonna refresh this, and I'm just trying to roll for my, I'm gonna say penetrating eye or mind, or not mind reader. I already have it, but maybe like a raid break would be very, very, very nice on this guy as well. I have 2 raid break affixes here, and of course, respect for the master. This golden ship is necessary for a Genos build, because if you're at pot 2, you're gonna need to max this raid break stat out, and you will need this card to do that. Along with all of my other characters, a lot of my necessary ones have these gold affixes, which is very, very good, and it benefits the characters a lot. You can get those from the simulation. So again, to sum it up, I have a 4 times penetrating eye, 3 times mind reader, 1 times Ride the Wave, which basically does nothing, 6 times Raid Break, and look how much this basically doubles if you get just 2 more copies, which makes it so good. I need that. This is absolutely absurd amount of stats right here. And then we have, of course, 3 out of 3 respect for the master, which is his respective character stat. Okay, so now it's time for combos. Or actually, I'm going to go over some tips and some flaws in Genos. His kit is very versatile. It is very strong, and it does everything, almost everything, very well. The problem is there are a few weak links in his kit, and there's a couple. You can miss this, but that's a skill issue. This is good. This one, you don't walk forward, you don't do anything. It makes it so that he just stands still. So if the boss, you don't interrupt the boss's ability, because most bosses won't be interrupted by this attack unless you have a huge merit difference, which then you shouldn't really need a guide because you'll just crush him anyways, right? But the boss will step away from you and then you're just caught swinging at air. And that's happened to me so many times, and I'm gonna have to dash to reset it, and guess what? I don't get those hits off, so I don't get my burst impact. And if I don't get my burst impact, I'm stuck in this state. And if I'm stuck in this state and these are not available to me because I've already used them, then guess what? What do I have to do? I have to M1. What does M1ing mean? Low DPS. What does low DPS mean? Your character will suck. So you can't miss this, right? You can't miss this Comet Punch. And the best way to do this is Leap Stomp to get in range, Comet Punch. Leap Stomp to get in range. When he moves away, Comet Punch. Very strong combo. Now for his range form, this does insanely more than this, but this is still a solid option. And this one right here, same thing. Boss sidesteps you or just absolutely flies away from you. You cannot hit him whatsoever. You can't hit him. So there is that, because your turn will be too slow. Like if the boss goes behind you and you're just caught spraying at something, you're gonna have to turn all the way around, and by that time your thing's out. And again, same goes with the dash punch. If you run out of these charges, you're stuck with the worst M1, one of the worst DPS M1s in the game, right? So there is that. But there's a lot of negatives, but the amount of positives this character has completely outweighs that, completely. And you can get this character for free early in the game, which is really solid. So basically everybody has this character. He's really special, and he's really cool to have. So there is that. Side notes, more tips for this guy is he basically can't hit any air troops for shit. He just can't hit them. He doesn't have any tracking moves. All of his moves are really that good for that. So there is that to note. So Mosquito Girl is kind of going to outpace him. So now we have combos, okay? Combos are pretty solid on this guy. They're pretty easy to learn, and he actually has a lot of creative combos. So first one, of course, you're starting off the match. I actually start off with this because I'm pot 2. So I can just click this right away, right? But if you don't, what do? Heel kick to get in range, and then you want to machine gun blows. Now note that this boss takes a tremendous amount of knockback, so I'm actually just going to push him back a little bit into the wall, into the invisible barrier, because of the fact that this guy just cannot take knockback, which I hate. Like, look at this, too much knockback, right? But yeah, there is that. Also, I got 17k DPS just from M1ing him, which is insane. So there is that. So let's go and heel kick, get in range, machine gun blows. Let's just say that hits, right? Then you're gonna M1, right? You're gonna M1 until you charge him up. And the thing is, I like how M1 pushes here. Like the M1 locks onto the enemy, so it's much easier to hit and lock onto enemies, which is very nice. So once you're done charging that, you're gonna go R, and then you're gonna use your Q. Again, if he's out of range, you can just dash forward with your Q, and then of course use the laser, and then basically just, you know, M1 here, and then use this heel kick. I can use this heel kick, and then I can use that, and then keep M1ing, right, until I get the R, which is here, and then I have 2 copies now, you know, of all these abilities, which makes it very useful. useful to me because I can just absolutely decimate the boss, and as you can see, I'm controlling the laser. So for example, if I'm shooting at the boss, it takes me a long time to get the laser back and it won't do much damage. So you always want to keep the laser on him. You can also combo 2 heal kicks, but I suggest you don't do that because of the fact that, or I keep saying that, but because like he doesn't have any other moves that really would interrupt his you know, his machine gun blows. Also, he does have a crosser here, so what does that mean? You need to stay in optimal distance. You need to stay at bay against this boss, and then you can come in and use your R. So again, heal kick, machine gun blows, let's just say it cancels, heal kick and machine gun blows. Now this last punch doesn't do any damage, it barely does anything, so you want to cancel that, whatever you do, just to save time and continue your combo. Because let's just say you're charging up your abilities really quickly and you're developing a good kind of pattern against the boss and good rhythm. You don't want to ruin that by having this final punch. Like this punch barely does any damage. Let's see if I can corner him against the wall and show you. Right? 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 7,000. Right? That last punch takes so long to wind up and doesn't really do anything. So instead, when you're doing this, you can cancel it. Like right when he's about to do that wind up punch, you can just use your Q and it actually cancels your ability, which is really cool. Instead of instead of dodging to reset your ability, you can instead use your Q, which means instead of dodging and wasting more time, right? Instead of wasting time, you could just Q and actually put up an ability that does damage, which is insane. And I think that's the heal kick's actually very, very strong for that one reason. Now let's get into fights and battles, because that's how I can demonstrate how powerful this character is. I'm going to be doing it on a boss that isn't his typing, because, you know, we don't want to see any of these off-balance stats, right? So let's just do Pluton, one of the hardest bosses in the game currently. As you can see, Morale Genos. I just said in the last video, Morale Genos spanked this guy, but again, he's on AI, now I'm on player. So there is that to note. These guys actually look very similar. They're just reskins. So yeah, let's queue up a fight. Let's use no dishes this time and just show you raw damage. Just pure damage here. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna go for a heal kick and then use this move. And I'm glad to see that he doesn't actually. Oh, I have auto mode on. That's not good. So I'm actually just gonna tank that. But yeah, M1, see, I'm stuck in M1. His M1's alright, but it's not the best. So I'm going to use it right before I hit it. I'm going to use this. I'm going to instantly composure break him. As you saw, my arms was active. I'm going to composure break him and then jump back and then start range. So I don't want to cancel this ability because it's going to make it harder to charge up this R ability. But now I'm going to have to cancel. And I have my dash so I can move out of the tornado's range. And then use this ability as well as my machine gun blows. And then, okay, he interrupted my ability, so I'm gonna have to run up to him and now machine gun blows and dodge and then come back here. Sometimes he does get out of range. This is basically at the very edge of optimal distance, so there is that to note. So if the boss slightly moves back, it's gonna be a problem for you. Okay, so he's gonna use this. I'm actually gonna try to pop my ult. Oh. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna pop my ult. Okay, because what is gonna happen is if I pop my ult, it's gonna be bad news for my damage stats. It's not gonna be very accurate. As you can see, I'm not even attacking an optimal distance right now. But it's still very good. So see, I can dodge with my Q ability on the range, and it's doing a ton of damage. Getting a heal kick before the composure break, and I got another composure break, a second composure break in the fight, which is really special. And then we're gonna do this. So if you back up too much, you get out of optimal range when you're using your switch, and it's not very good when you're stuck into an animation. But if you go to damage statistics, as you can see, 32, 32, and this guy is getting a 40% boost in Pluton. Just remember that, 40% boost in Pluton. So there is that to note. So yeah, he's very strong when, you know, very, very strong here, as you can see. he has 1% more, but his composure break is a ton. His composure break damage is way higher than Genos, so there is that as well to consider. And I didn't even have a perfect battle really, but you know, he does a ton, and it shows that even when, you know, there's a type advantage, this guy gets 40% more damage, this guy is still doing a ton of damage to the other characters, and it's his pot that he relies on a lot. So if you're at pot 0, depends. It can be good, you can, but it'll just take him a longer time to, you know, ramp up. So actually, the longer the battle goes on, this guy ends up becoming a very good character, so there is that as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Just for a quick sum up of what I talked about, Genos, this Genos, top of the line character. He's actually very strong. As I think SR Genos is very good too, of course, but this guy is extremely good, especially when you're developing your characters a lot and getting pot duplicates. He overtakes this Genos eventually. And he's a very good late game character to early game character, in fact. He's good in every single situation. He's very versatile. You can play him in any way. His arms is really good. His damage is really good. His moves are really creative. His kit isn't boring at all. It's really good. So there's nothing really negative to say about Genos other than the slight flaws he has in his kit. But other than that, he's a great character. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.